Okay, so before we talk about what liquidity preference theory is and what makes up the demand for money and the supply for money, let's do a brief revision of what money is. So, any commodity that is widely accepted in society in exchange for goods and services is money. Basically, money needs to act as a medium of exchange. It needs to be universally acceptable, right? That's number one. Number two, it needs to act as a store of value. It needs to serve as a store of value, which means it needs to hold a relatively stable value to store the purchasing power of individuals. Number three, it needs to act as a measure of value, which means that money is used to value assets and commodities in terms of monetary units. And finally, it needs to act as a standard of deferred payments, which means payments that are to be made in the future are reckoned in money. So these are the functions of money. If we talk about the characteristics of money, number one, it needs to be universally acceptable. It needs to be accepted as a commodity for exchange in goods and services. Then it needs to be portable, which means that it should be easier to carry money, which is why we have banknotes and coins, because they are easy to carry in wallets and in pockets, right? In place of banknotes, if you had like tables and chairs acting as a commodity as an exchange for goods and services, that would have been difficult to carry around all the time. Number three, they need to be durable, which is why perishable goods, which means fruits and vegetables, are not really a good fit to be money because they rot over time and they lose their value. So money needs to be durable, which is why banknotes and coins form the money for today, because they do not perish over time. Then money needs to be divisible into small denominations. This means that a 100 rupee note can easily be divided into two 50 rupee notes or five 20 rupee notes. So if you want to purchase items which are worth in tens and twenties, you can easily do that. If let's say a car was used as a medium of exchange, and if you cannot make half a payment by cutting your car in half and giving that half as a means of payment. Then lastly, money needs to be limited in supply. It needs to, which means that it should not be available everywhere. Unlike pebbles and stones, which are literally available everywhere, which is why they're not a good fit to be money. Lastly, let's talk about the forms of money that we have today. We have cash, which means banknotes and coins, which is basically a legal tender, which it means that it is accepted by law as a means of payment, even though cash does not have any intrinsic value of its own. Then we have cash, that's money in current accounts. That means in bank accounts. Then we have substitutes in the form of credit cards, debit cards, credit and debit cards. Then we have what's called near monies. So near monies are assets that act as unit of accounts and store of value, but cannot be used as medium of exchange. But they are convertible into medium of exchange quickly and at little cost, and that means they have high liquidity. An example of this is our savings accounts. Then we have non-money financial assets, which means jewelry, property, cars, stocks, securities, shares. These are all non-money financial assets, but they can be converted into money. However, they are not really classified. These assets are not really classified as money unless they are converted into liquid cash, into a liquid form. And this conversion process takes time and also involves a loss in real value of money, which basically impairs their functions as units of account and stores of value. So this is basically the introduction for what money is. In the next video, we'll talk about reserve ratio.